Hello everybody, welcome back to Level 1 News. Today's January 18th, 2022. We're doing all business today.
We relied on government news. Oh boy, the business news.
It's been that way. Last couple of weeks has been heavy business and heavy security.
And heavy NASA. Though no NASA stories this week, I don't think.
What does that tell us about the world that we're living in? You could say that the name Karen, I think, has been poisoned for a long time, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anybody naming their kid that now.
Imagine naming a young girl Karen these days. That's a tough burden to put on her. But will the name Vivian suddenly become hated? Probably not, because this story will get buried and no one else will report it. But Project Vivian was a disgusting thing.
Oh no, the keyword. Google had a secret project to convince employees that unions suck. This is reported by Motherboard. So, Google had a project called Ivianve, and they really don't want their employees talking to one another. Oh, did this article mention the yearly, like Google's not doing the yearly thing this year? Like normally they do a yearly like cost of living adjustment, whatever, or something, and somebody said that they weren't doing that anymore, and I meant to follow up.
What year would be more prescient than this one? This is the inflation year.
Are they looking to hemorrhage employees?
Maybe.
It looks like it.
An easy way to get rid of them, huh?
Stealth layoffs.
So this is all stuff that came out from a lawsuit. It's always stuff that comes out from a lawsuit. They uncovered some records, and sure enough, they did this. The quote was, to engage employees more positively and convince them that unions suck. That was Michael Phil? Is that how you pronounce that? P-F-Y-L? Pafil? Is he like a pterodactyl? And yeah. And the judge is saying, well, the judge said, you got to give us all these documents, and sure enough, a little bit of a smoking gun in there.
Yeah. This is like the third or fourth layer of the onion that was peeled back. It all started with Google hiring a company called RI Consultants, which are sort of known for anti-union, like
I think
right
that's
on
all they do.
It's right on the razor's edge, though, of like, this is not legal for you to do this.
They also
just tiptoeing on that line.
Yeah.
They also have records that were private communications between them and that company, and they're using attorney-client privilege for that.
Yeah.
So there's more that we can't see, which was probably way worse.
Yeah, probably way worse.
But could it be worse than this? This is a beautiful little tale of comeuppance.
Yeah.
And this is something that these companies have been getting away with for a long time. And unfortunately, I don't think they'll change their behavior.
No.
If things ever go back to normal. I think they'll go back to normal too, but they shouldn't.
Printer cartridge debacle forces Canon to tell customers how to break DRM. So you know how they put chips in ink cartridges? Turns out you don't need the chips in ink cartridges. Canon can't manufacture enough chips for their ink cartridges. So what do? You make the ink cartridges without the chips. But then the printers complain. But then Canon says, you know what? Just tell the printer to stuff it.
And they give you instructions on how to do that. It's nothing really complex.
Yeah.
But, it just points out they're evil.
It is kind of funny, though. It's like, we have the genuine chip, and only ours is good. You're like, no, don't worry about it.
But here's the really, really bad part, right? Think about just like back it all back to the raw materials. How many earth movers, cars, ventilators, how many things could we have if we took back all those printer ink cartridge chips and recycled them into something else?
They could have gone into all those Ford vehicles. Maybe we can pit the auto industry against the printer ink industry.
That'd be a hell of a fight, wouldn't it? Auto industry is definitely going to have them on the logistics front. And PCs, people are stuck at home. And when you're stuck at home, even if you're jobless, even if you've got no financial prospects, you get bored, you got to buy something, right? You got to connect to the world. No surprise here.
The PC market just had another big year thanks to demand because of our current global situation. There is nothing to do at home but the computer. So of course it's going to sell well. And also consoles and video games and
Things you can do at home.
Books, music, self-improvement.
Gardening supplies.
The things that have existed since the beginning of man. You could still do those things. But hey, I'm in a glass house because I spend all my time on a computer. And when I spend time on that computer, I love to have fast video cards and fast hard drives. Most people probably don't think too much about this, But when you stuff a lot of cool stuff into a computer, this becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
And this is a nice thing.
PCI Express 6.0 specification has finally been finalized. X16 slots to reach 128 gigabytes per second. Woo!
Not yet. It's going to be a while. But they're working on it.
One of the big things here is they finally decided that, this is sort of generating a lot of errors. We saw that with PCI Express 4.0. PCI Express 4.0 is fast enough to generate kind of a lot of errors. They're adding a lot of error correction here, which kind of reminds me of how mechanical hard drives have dealt with errors for a long time. So this will probably be successful since they recycle a lot of the same technology.
And oh boy, is this exciting. I have a touch of a feeling about this that it might be like that battery technology.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, they seem to have a really good handle on it. And again, we're not super close to this, but they think like 12 to 36 months.
Yeah, but we'll see.
That seems really great. But
Things don't break down before then.
yeah. Oh man, how disappointing would it be if this exists and we just can't get it? Because this is the dream. This is where everything on your computer moves as fast as your RAM. Because your RAM is everything else on your computer. What a beautiful state. The RA in the middle of this is stupid. Why did they put UltraRAM? How is UltraRAM?
It's already there.
You think there's a tram system that's already called UltraRAM?
Marvel was probably like, that's too close to Ultron. We can't allow it.
Oh, you know what? You're joking.
But
That could be so real.
UltraRAM breakthrough brings new memory and storage tech to silicon. DRAM-like speeds with the non-volatility of thousands of years.
And how many write cycles? A crazy number of write cycles.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
is that what it said in the press release? A crazy number.
A
Well, just-
ludicrous amount.
It would just never wear out. It's just...
Look at these blocks. Krista, how impressive are these blocks?
So impressive. So many colors.
The thing that's not really answered here is the density. So, the article says that it's going to be easier to manufacture on existing processes. It's going to be more durable. There's less layers. Right now we're working with 96 layers plus on our NAND flash. And the speed of the NAND flash depends on an analog comparator and how fast that is. And those are very slow. So this completely changes all of that. But again, density is going to be the Achilles heel.
As long as it didn't increase latency, I don't care how big it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Plenty of room on that board now, right?
just have like sheets of storage in there. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got 3 8x12 sheets of memory, and
Yeah, that'd be great. I guess,
speed of light's a little bit of a problem with that scale.
yeah, and then the connectivity to the CPU, they would have to be like around the CPU, centered around it. That could be a cool new form factor.
The spherical computer.
Have it rotate slowly in your living room. Be great. Another moving part. And the thing about chips, though, especially now that we're in the chip crunch, I mean, look, if printer ink cartridge chips are so valuable that we can't use them anymore, imagine how valuable it is if you can make your own, if you can control your own supply chain. And everybody's doing it, which is why chip makers are now rock stars.
Microsoft hires key Apple engineer to work on custom chips. So this again, Microsoft is working on their own stuff. I think you gotta. I mean, let's step back for a second. This is probably be a fun little segue. If I'm not gonna make the episode too long, but it's like Microsoft did the ARM-based Surfaces, and they're crap. They were just bad. And then they did it again with the Surface X. I'm talking about Surface RT, Windows 8. And then they did it again with Surface RT, and it was, or not Surface RT, with Surface X, and it was a little better. But you gotta, like, if you're Microsoft, you're looking at this and you're saying, we did ARM first, and then Apple comes out with the M1, and it just completely destroys everybody's expectations, and they genuinely love it, and everything runs fast, and the battery life is forever. How badly did we screw up? And then, so they're going to hire the person from Apple to sort of give them it's like, tell us what we did wrong.
How furious is Apple right now?
Yeah, that's an easy way to fix it. Expensive, but easy, and they've got a lot of money.
But I mean, I could have told them, it's like, don't make it crap. Like their point was like, we're going to make it crappy and slow. Don't do that. Try to make it as fast as possible with as long a battery life as possible. They didn't do that.
Yeah, well, can't sell you a new one in 3 years if they do that. Apple didn't do that either.
Well, Apple's going to make it break in other ways in 3 years.
How much of a buffer do you want here?
Oh, I got time. It's fine.
So I really feel bad for Brian Fajol when he was a student at school. He probably caught a lot of bullying for that last name. This is about Linux Mint. I've actually read a lot. I can't have such a hard time telling if these people are arguing in good faith or if they're just
Trolling.
Linux cucks. Because they will defend anything that has to do with Linux, no matter how bad it is. And they're saying, this is not a big deal. But when Apple did this, people lost their mind.
Rightfully so.
Linux Mint sells out for Mozilla money. Google becomes the default search in Firefox.
What an image to go with this. Also from Beta News.
Well, so before we talk about the change that they made, what do you mean because if Apple had a proprietary spin of their browser that they or a proprietary spin of Firefox that they included, and then they went with the default Mozilla one, I think everybody would herald that as a win.
No, I'm talking about when Google was paying Apple to control the search engine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, no, we shouldn't, Apple should be totally separate.
Which is exactly the same. I mean, more stuff is happening here.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things. So let's look at the bullet list here.
The default start page no longer points to linuxmint.com. The default search engine no longer include Yahoo and DuckDuckGo, etc., but they include Google, Amazon, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and eBay.
Yahoo really got the short end of that stick, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't really like Yahoo, so I'm okay with that. The default configuration switches from Mint defaults to Mozilla defaults. I think that's probably a good thing. Firefox no longer includes code changes or patches from Linux Mint, Debian, or Ubuntu.
Now, I will definitely agree with you. Those last two bullet points are basically like getting the... I wish the phones would do that, right?
Yes.
Because Verizon is using this for evil.
Yes.
I don't know if Linux Mint was necessarily using it for evil.
Well, no, but you could make the argument that there's one of Linux's problems is that there's too much fragmentation, because who as a user would expect that Firefox installed on Ubuntu or Mint is going to have subtle but important behavioral differences than Firefox installed directly from Mozilla?
But the bigger issue is the bag of money.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do those things because they thought they would improve the product.
The heaping pile of cash in the corner that no one wants to talk about.
They did it for a bag of money.
So are you saying what constitutes a crime is 90% motive?
No. I still think it's a crime. No, I don't think it's a crime because it is their software. They can do what they want with it, right? We should establish that.
Well, no, that's what I was saying is that, like, if they were doing these changes not motivated by money, it would cast a different light on it than if they were doing these changes motivated by money. So it's a crime. It's like, I'm going to break into your house. It's like, do you intend to steal stuff from me, or are you worried about me?
I got news for you. Intent will play a heavy factor in your court case.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of how it works. But there is no court case here. There's no crime. It's just Linux Mint doing a weird thing. If you don't like it, here's the beauty of the Linux ecosystem. There's a billion other choices. Way too many. Way too many.
And Mozilla's made some other questionable choices of their own, so it's kind of like...
What are you supposed to do?
Oh. Speaking of questionable choices.
Well, I think for this audience, you have to do this, right?
Yeah.
There's not an audience of people who are looking to go green. They're just looking to flex and show how much money they've got and how much power they've got, which they probably thought long and hard before they did turn this off.
Yeah.
Because what a cool thing to brag about. If Elon Musk made this, he wouldn't turn it off, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
It would be the Ultra Plaid package. GMC Hummer EV could pop wheelies before engineers intervened. So, it turns out when you've got that much torque, you can have a Hummer that pops wheelies.
I don't know a lot about cars, and I don't really care about cars that much, but Hummers are so ugly.
Well, they were, definitely designed for military use. They weren't supposed to be pretty. They were supposed to be extremely functional under extreme conditions. And people saw that and they were like, I need that.
I want that.
No one needs it.
Just to drive to my suburban neighborhood. Take my kids to soccer practice.
I know some people that bought those box Jeeps, and that you can drive those till the wheels fall off, and even then they'll still keep driving.
That was one of the great jokes in MASH. Radar, piece by piece, mailed himself a Jeep home. And reassembled it. And Tesla, the king of the electric vehicles, for now, is having some more complaints. This affected a very low number of Tesla users because you have to be in some pretty extreme conditions for this to happen. But does that not make it even more dangerous?
Right.
Yeah. Prairie Tesla owners battle loss of heat among extreme cold weather after a software update. So there were some bugs in a software update.
That's terrifying. Your car gets updated probably without your knowledge, and then all of a sudden you don't have heat.
Cabin climate control system requires service. That was while they were driving in negative 30°C.
Ugh.
So one person said, yeah, luckily there was an internal combustion engine driver behind me, and I was able to flag them down and put my 2-year-old in their car so she didn't freeze to death. But if that had not been the case, could have a dead toddler on our hands here.
That's why you keep emergency stuff in your car. But either way,
What emergency stuff are you going to keep that's going to stop negative 30°C in a car?
you need like a sleeping bag and stuff.
That's like chemical heater territory.
Yeah.
So Tesla is saying, hey, we warned you, you have to preheat your car in those conditions. Which means plug it in, let it warm the battery, let it warm the cabin. I don't know how long that takes. I think it's 15, 20 minutes.
But it worked before now.
Wasn't he driving though as this was happening? That would assume that it was heated up, right?
No, they're saying that the problem is the battery, when it gets that cold, it can't supply enough power for all the systems. So it focuses on the drivetrain. But if you preheated, now I don't know if anybody's proven this or not, but according to the Tesla engineers, if you preheat, your battery will be conditioned and it won't have that issue once it gets out in the cold.
But this was a software update.
I'm just telling you what the Tesla engineers.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds a lot like.
The driver said it worked before.
I don't know. It works on my side.
I don't know.
That's what the engineer response sounds like.
If I was driving in a situation where a car breakdown could kill me, I would not be driving a Tesla.
Or could you pull over to the side of the road and then it's like, okay, now you don't have to worry about the drivetrain. Give me some heat.
Yes, and one person
Yeah.
said their commute was like drive till you couldn't stand it anymore and then pull over and warm up. And then as soon as they started driving, it would kick back off.
That's
I mean, you should have a sleeping bag. You should have layers on when you go out in the winter. But I mean, negative 30.
that's playing it a little dangerous for me because it's like I might freeze to death if my car decides that it just can't run the heater
Yeah.
when I pull over.
You know, you got to be fair. That could happen in a regular car too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And in fact did on I-95 like a week ago.
Aw.
but I don't think a regular car, it's not like the heat's going to kick off just because you didn't preheat it.
Yeah. I mean, people were fine, I think. They were just like, oh, I don't have any food or water.
And another story from Tesla, and this one's funny because how long ago did they announce the Cybertruck?
Oh,
It's been
wow.
a couple years, right? And since then,
I'm sure the comments will let us know.
every other, well, not every other, but most other car companies have introduced either an electric car or even an electric pickup. We got the Silverado now. We got the Hummer.
Some kind of sport utility vehicle.
We got the Ford Lightning. Yeah, and there's a couple of SUVs. They got that crazy Mustang SUV. I saw one of those in the wild the other day. God, they're ugly.
Rivian seems to be the one that people like the most, but also seems to be vaporware.
So, also, you have 4 minutes?
It's fine.
Okay. And so now looking back at the Cybertruck, based on everything else that we've seen, it does not look that impressive. And I think that everybody is realizing that, and they're thinking, ooh, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Tesla delays Cybertruck to early 2023, says report. And as of today, 2022 delivery day was taken off of the Tesla website. So it seems like there is some credibility to this report.
How angry are you if you've pre-ordered this truck at this point?
If they were going to sell it to you at the price they promised to sell it to you,
Oh my God, yeah, inflation.
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
That
But
would
they're
be-
not going to do that.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you put the Cybertruck up against either that Ford Lightning or the Silverado. I'm just like, yeah, give me the regular truck.
Yeah.
I don't need that much attention on the road.
Oh,
that's the
Boiler Snake has
Snake.
thoughts.
Boiler Snake pre-ordered.
He's real angry at Elon Musk.
Woo.
We're gonna take a quick pause here.
Yeah.
Pause for conference call.
We're back. Wendell's back from his conference call.
That was an important conference call. It could not have been an email.
Definitely couldn't have been an email.
Unacceptable if that were in text. And speaking of texts that are unacceptable, what color are you? Are you team green or are you team blue? I'm team green.
Why is this even a thing? I'm begrudgingly team green because, listen, if there's anybody out there that wants to rise up and crush the machine, I think we can build the ultimate user interface that's not garbage.
I'll tell you why. Because if you want to manipulate people, one of the easiest ways to do so is based on color. It's usually a lot worse than this, but this is still pretty bad.
Green texts in iMessage nudge teens to use iPhones. So if you are in iMessage, which is an Apple product, and you're not using an iPhone, you visibly see that. And also, it makes your messaging experience worse, so people say.
There are other features you can't get.
Yeah.
And they get delivered faster because they're getting delivered through the straight Apple network
As
and
opposed
not
to-
going through SMS.
Yeah.
There's a lot of advantages and a lot of built-in disadvantages. And you know who's angry about that? Well, you can guess, but I have to kind of side with Ars Technica here. They did have a lot of time to make a better product. They could have made their own version with blackjack and hookers, but they did nothing, and now they're sad.
After ruining Android messaging, Google says iMessage is too powerful. And it's funny because there's all kinds of fun stuff in the picture that they've ruined, like the icons for things that are dead. Like, you remember Google Plus Talk, and then
Remember Google Plus in general?
Yeah.
and then XMPP. It's like one protocol to rule them all.
But this is a little bit damning because Apple doesn't just give you those features, it markets based on those features. And it could have seeded this hatred for the green boxes because it did stuff like this.
Yeah.
iMessages are blue, so you're not.
I mean, who cares? But I guess some people do.
Apple users, Krista, they care deeply about it because you don't fit in if you're green.
I mean, to be fair, okay, there should be a standard messaging protocol that is not completely stupid.
Right.
And
There should be a standard phone platform that is not completely stupid.
yes, and unfortunately, the SMS text messages thing is completely stupid.
As
It's
are
slow.
all of our phone operating systems and
Yes.
platforms.
Like, everybody has lost sight of what a phone is supposed to do. They're all so badly designed. Why must we be made to suffer?
Well, the reason is two things. The first one that they're taking advantage of you here is fear. Fear of not being part of the group, fear of being excluded, fear of the green message. The other one is greed. Those are the two things that move humanity, fear and greed, unfortunately. And that is why the Associated Press is doing this horror.
The Associated Press is starting its own NFT marketplace for photojournalism. It's offering collectors exclusive historic and stunning visual content. Now, at first, I thought this was going to be some kind of a blockchain for custody. So imagine something like Getty Images, but not hideously evil, and also something that the original author that has the copyright on the image would benefit. But that's not what this is.
Who owns the picture of Tank Man? I want that. I want that NFT.
In a blockchain, you could have this could be really awesome. A blockchain for intellectual property rights, like a deed book. You've got clear proof of who owns what. So if you have something like a copyright strike system, you could say, no, I have a token on the blockchain that gives me the rights to use copyrighted work X. It's not really that simple in real life, so it can't possibly be, something that goes into a blockchain. But I can dream.
Yeah, you're not. AP is going to reuse that as many
Yes.
times as they want. You have no ownership of it.
Right.
You don't matter at all. And I don't even think they're completely unique, right?
Right.
Because they said the Pulitzer drops would be more limited. But more limited means more than one.
Yeah.
So a Pulitzer Prize article has an NFT. Okay, maybe there's some value there, right? An iconic article. What if you had the NFT for when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor? That'd be crazy, right? Except you're not the only one that gets it.
What if you're Japanese and you had the NFT for that, and then later your descendants are like, ooh, grandpa.
Ooh.
Well, how many people in America have Nazi memorabilia? How's that any
Ooh,
different?
grandpa.
Ooh.
They go through your USB drives when you're dead. I had no idea. Well, Xbox, PlayStation, they are all getting into crossplay, meaning that no matter what device you're on, you're playing with people on other devices. You're playing in one big game. It has inherent disadvantages. And here they're focusing on cheaters, but mouse and keyboard alone.
That is
Yes.
that's basically cheating because
Yeah.
you're so much quicker to react.
And I suspect a lot of these people who are claiming cheating, just like back when we played PUBG, Every time we'd get killed, just because we were failures, we'd be like, "Oh, it's the Chinese hackers.
But
The Chinese hackers."
there were a couple times it was hackers.
Oh, there was for sure some
because
Chinese
there were
hackers.
times when we were hiding behind walls and we'd get shot.
But there were also times when we were just bad.
I was
A lot of times we were just
I was
bad.
impressed that you could actually shoot through walls and that would register.
Yeah, wall banging's been around since Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Turns out bullets do that. But yeah, I would say probably about 50-50 here. Real reports of cheating and people who are just getting owned.
Xbox players are fed up with forced crossplay against PC gamers. Xbox players can't escape some PC cheaters or PC players, depending on which headline you elect to choose for your headline. Get the NFT below.
Ugh.
I gotta say, I mean, it seems like a bad idea, right? To do crossplay.
Yeah.
I guess if you have a game where nobody's playing.
This isn't anything new. I mean, Microsoft did this with the original Xbox, and then it was the whole, do we allow mouse and keyboard on a console? And then some executive was like, no, this is a different experience. We got to keep these people separate.
Except now they're not.
Yeah. See, Overwatch did that. I think it was like last year sometime they started enabling that for quick play. And a lot of people got angry about that too because it was like, that's just, they're trying to hide that they're losing numbers, I think, on the game.
But the screenshot they're showing here is Halo, and Halo's probably still got a robust multiplayer.
Yeah.
with it. Although maybe they're playing the long game. That'd be a smart thing to do, I guess. I don't know. You know what? My multiplayer gaming days are. I'm accepting that I'm always just going to get murdered if I try it. So I don't care. Give me as many console players as you can give me because I need the advantage.
You need the ego boost.
Wordle, I have been hearing so much about Wordle. Have you tried it?
Nope.
No.
I don't really know what the rules are. It's a word search game, obviously. But boy, is it hitting it big. This is like the Angry Birds
The words with friends of our time.
of 2022. And when that happens, just like with Angry Birds, people started making clones because it's simple to make. This is like a first-year programming project.
Wordle copycats have vanished from Apple's App Store. A few clones remain, but without the Wordle name. So there's not an official Wordle Apple App Store thing yet. And somebody noticed, hey, wait a minute, a lot of people are doing this. There's an exchange with one of the app developers who said, listen, even if you remove the app because I referred to Wordle in the app description, I'm just going to change the name of the app and re-upload it. But here's the messed up thing about the Apple App Store. I can buy ads for people to search the word Wordle and then show them mine. So even though I don't have the word Wordle in my description, they will still see my game because I've paid for that ad. And that is exactly right. And that is still true. And that is still a thing you can do.
Except, oh yeah, they're going to protect you from the walled garden until someone pays to get in.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, you have a knife? Yeah, sure.
It's like you can't use the word Wordle in your description if you have a Wordle clone. You can't even say Wordle clone. But you can pay us to run an ad if someone searches for Wordle. We'll show them this that is like popular word search clone.
But I don't believe that you can copyright or trademark or patent a game mechanic, can you?
It would have to be you can copyright or you can patent business methods.
But not a word search.
Probably not.
Like word search, no matter what your unique take on it, is still going to be word search. And there's so many existing instances of that. There are also a ton of battle royale games that really blew up there for a while, which makes me think that these guys are going to have a tough time with this one.
GameMaker says Apple and Google are selling rip-offs in a new lawsuit. So this one took a lawsuit to get them to take it down. But this is a gameplay mechanic, which maybe or maybe is not protectable. This says they're using specific copyrighted assets that were lifted out of PUBG. And if that's true, then that's going to be a slam dunk case against Apple and Google. But that may not be true.
Were those custom PUBG assets? Because wasn't PUBG like an asset store?
That is going to depend on that. It's going to hinge on that. It's like, can they show the chain of custody for those assets?
They're going to go in and add a little bit of texture to one of the backpacks. It's totally different. Totally different. The game is called Free Fire. I've never heard of it. Have you?
No.
I think it is free to play as well. Although PUBG just went free to play, didn't it?
Yes. It's PUBG Battlegrounds, which is an even more confusing acronym.
Which really just throws a lot of people over to the Epic guys, doesn't it? Really just, you're forcing them into another place to play. But if you're an Apple user,
oh no,
you're in trouble. But wait, could there be a little goat pass to get past the hot gates? There may be.
Fortnite sneaks back onto the iPhone by way of GeForce Now. Nvidia's streaming app will make Epic Games Battle Royale playable on iOS again. So this is web-based. Remember, Apple still have their heels dug in on this. Apple will not allow an app that streams games. It has to be done through a web control.
But now, does Fortnite do crossplay? Because if you're playing with the Nvidia people, those are not phone users.
Well, those are. I don't know.
Nah, because Nvidia only works through GPUs, right?
Not for Fortnite, but Intel did a tech demo where they were doing something like this for Tencent, and it was all phone clients. So this might be a phone client version of Fortnite that's streaming, but there's not enough details here to know.
If it's not, I mean, controller versus PC, keyboard, mouse, you're going to get wrecked. Phone versus PC and mouse?
Woo!
It has recovered. It's so impossible to do Bitcoin price stories.
Yeah.
With any kind of delay in your news.
By the time they see this, it'll probably be like something dramatically different again.
It's back over.
Bitcoin slips under the $40,000 mark, according to TechCrunch. Now, so far, the whole market for this is exactly like 2021. Where we were in 2021, where we are today in 2022, it's basically Groundhog Day.
But we did double during that time and come back down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of market movement. A lot. If you timed it, congratulations. Please donate to Patreon.
Patreon store.level1text.com. Place of your choice.
And following up, you know what? I missorted this because I didn't realize the connection while I was sorting. But this is once again having to do with Apple and their attempted lockdown of the App Store. It seems that piece by piece, those bricks are being chipped away.
Apple submits a plan to allow alternative payment systems in South Korea. So, in South Korea, you can't force an app developer to only go through Apple for payment processing. But how will Apple ensure that it gets the appropriate cut, the appropriate commission, if you allow the app to use a third-party payment processor? Well, Apple has come up with an overly elaborate scheme after months, if not years, of diligently working hard to do that.
Well, we don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'm sure they're not happy about it. But South Korea was basically like, hey, you got to do something. You got to get in line with the regulations. The great resignation, the great reset, whatever you want to call it, people are not working. My God, the grocery situation.
They're not going to school either. College enrollment is down 1 million.
College enrollment and that's a record, right?
Yeah.
I mean, since the last time when the colleges were just coming up,
yeah,
it hasn't been that low. So people are just noping out of everything. And
can you blame them?
Maybe
I can't.
Maybe this is good in the sense that employers and the people with all the money are backed into a corner, and they have to do something. They have to try to make themselves more appealing to workers. I was looking through some job openings earlier today, not for myself, but for Nubbin. And there were companies that were doing completely remote work, and it was mind-numbing call center stuff, but they were offering a $2,000 signing bonus. Think about that. And that's jobs that don't pay $2,000 a month.
No.
They're giving you a month's salary as a signing bonus. I think this is that same kind of thing. They are in trouble.
The local problem grocery store also has a signing bonus, but you have to be there for 6 months.
Oh.
That's how they get you. Well, like in McDonald's, I know they'll say, oh, we pay up to this amount like per hour. And that's only like you have to jump through so many hoops to get that rate.
There's no loopholes in this one, at least none that they talked about. Because in a lot of cases when people do this, they adjust the other days. Panasonic's not doing that. Yeah. They're doing straight up.
Panasonic to offer 4-day work week in Japan. Productivity actually goes up when workers have more flexibility with their hours. Well, that's good. I've always been a big fan of Panasonic cameras. So,
and
yay.
I didn't include it. I don't know why I didn't include it because we were so short on stories this week. Yahoo in Japan. Once again, Yahoo is still doing business around the world. I don't know what they're up to. They will let you work anywhere, and they'll pay the airfare if you have to commute by plane.
Well, your airfare budget is $1,300 a trip or something like that. So, as an employee, you can't cost the company more than $1,300 when they request you come in, which seems reasonable.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Yeah. You could get 2 or 3 flights a year for that, depending on where you were.
Yeah.
Especially now. Aren't flights still bargains?
There was a story the other day that some airline was literally just flying empty flights.
Lufthansa.
Oh, yeah, they had to keep the spaces.
Yeah.
I was so mad about that. I was like, what a waste to do that.
No. See, I need to study more economics because like the some of these rabbit hole things, like you go really deep and it's just like, this is crazy. I had no idea. But the whole, moratorium on rent, it's like, okay, that sounds like landowners are going to have a big problem. But then you think, oh, all landowners are people that own many, many thousands of tenants, or
Own tenants. Can't
basically
own people anymore.
own
Well, that's not
properties.
true at all.
No, it's a small tenant, and that it's disproportionately going to. So what happens is the small tenant, the small landlord, can't make payments, foreclosure, blah blah blah. But then land developers can swoop in and buy stuff. So what is actually happening right now in New York and Toronto and Vancouver and places like that is the people that owned, less than 20 or 30 rentals are the ones that have gotten the hardest squeeze, and the larger companies that are completely unaffected, because they have billions of dollars, they have billionaires bankrolling them, are come in and swooping things up. And so like neighborhoods that were locked down are now going to be redeveloped, and it's like this is the complete opposite of, oh, we're going to try to give people a break. In 3 years, those apartments aren't even going to be there because they're going to be turned into high-rise developments.
So would you say that's...
How does that relate to the plane thing?
Oh, the airlines that are financed by billionaires are going to be the ones that come out on top, which is the opposite of a free market.
So would you say that was an organized and orchestrated transfer of wealth?
But
It feels that way.
It looks like, but it's so deceptive because it looks like you're helping ordinary citizens, but in fact, it's going to completely even more destroy the middle class.
Kind of like bailing out the auto industry?
Again, that it looks like you're helping, but you're actually not doing anything for the people that are more entrepreneurial.
Quantitative easing.
Oh my God, you've completely destroyed entrepreneurial class, but the billionaires have been... Why does this keep happening?
Because all of our Congress
works.
critters are
'Cause
in
it
their
works.
80s, and they are part of that class who own everything.
It works really well.
Why does this keep happening?
This is anticlimactic. I don't know why I chose this for the last story. But if we remember back, China had this crazy tutoring cottage industry. Not even really a cottage industry. It's a really big cottage. And those kids that was so hyper competitive, everybody had a tutor. And the Communist Party was like, I don't know, we don't control that. I don't care for it. So they made some new rules.
EdTech firm fires 60,000 in worst cuts since the China crackdown. This is from Bloomberg. So, you can do the training online, but a lot of this training was also in person, and all of those people have been displaced.
No, but you're not allowed to do this anymore.
No, yeah. Because, historically, it could be online or in person. But now it's no.
So those kids, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot there, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Even if you're militarizing, it's better to have a more well-rounded soldier, I would think.
I didn't understand.
No, because then they might question their orders.
I didn't understand one aspect of this. Part of the reason for the crackdown, it's suggested, and I don't know if this is true or not, did you get this impression, that the reason for the crackdown is because some of the tutors, or a lot of the tutors from this, were people that were doing it for their side hustle in other countries, or because they were locals?
Outside influence, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's also a major draw for people to move to China. Teaching English.
Yeah.
If you to teach English, here's a pro tip. If your life is terrible, nubbin, go to Korea and teach English. And you'll be like, well, I don't know Korean. None of the English teachers in Korea know English.
I had a friend who did that, and it turned out really well for him.
They do, even in the younger grades, they do an all English classroom. And you're the English. So you never have to learn Korean. Now, they do say it's a hellish existence because you don't speak the language and you still have to live in their world. So in the classroom, you're fine. But, when you're buying lunch, good luck with that. But if you got nothing else, right? Plus, you're a little bit of a celebrity just by being an American.
Woo.
Friday's going to be
More depressing.
definitely robots and nonsense. Do we do
We did security.
do we do social?
No.
I think social's also Friday.
Neat.
All right, that's it. Bye.